Welcome to House of Horns. It's the bye week. The grind don't stop, Victor. I know the team's taking a day off, but we're not here at House of Horns. We got plenty of coverage for you, fans of House of Horns, listeners, subscribers, viewers, all that. I'm Gilbert Manzano, Rams beat reporter for the OC Register, LA Daily News. And as always, joining me, Victor Corona Javier, aka Victor Producer. First of all, Victor, how you doing? And keep it real. Do you hate me for making you work on the bye week?
No, I love this work, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for, making me work more, but I'm enjoying this. It's good to talk some football, especially some Rams. Especially coming off a win, man. Like I know they're going on a bye now, but it's good going on a bye on a win on a one game winning streak, I guess. But there's a lot to talk about with the Rams right now, so I want to get into this, especially with everything that went on today. You have some news and notes for us, so let's get it started, man. Why wait, right?
Well, I know you want to move ahead, Victor, because
Oh, sorry, my
you
bad.
you want to go and start the bye week. But I
Yeah,
have a big announcement, a positive, but it is news though. So I think you're on the
yeah,
same track here, Victor. I just want to say we've hit it, we've done it. 200
that's right.
subscribers here at House of Horns. We made it a big deal for 100. I'm gonna make it a big deal for 200. So I'm happy for that. Thank you. If you're a new subscriber or you've been there from day one, we really appreciate the support at House of Horns. We have locker room access videos. We got game previews. We got post game shows. So you've been watching all that, or you just started. Thank you for that. But yeah, we got the big 200 Victor. And the other thing I want to mention is the goal is though from like a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I forget how long it's been. The goal is to get to 250 subscribers, and the way to get there is by doing a giveaway. People love giveaways. And what we have for the listeners here of House of Horns is an Aaron Donald Blitz T-shirt. There's a video somewhere here on this channel with more information. But if you don't want to go to the video, I'll keep it simple. It's a very cool Aaron Donald T-shirt. We want to get to 250 subscribers, so subscribe, and then find a video and then comment under it, and maybe do a hashtag House of Horns. Make it easier for us, and you're automatically entered to win this Aaron Donald T-shirt. So make sure you subscribe. We will do the kind of the raffle or the drawing at 250 subscribers, but we're almost there, Victor. We got 200 subscribers already, so you want the Aaron Donald's Blitz t-shirt, sorry. Find the video and then comment and then maybe do a hashtag House of Horns to make it easier. But that's it, Victor. We got to 200 subscribers.
Yeah, no, and one of the other things I noticed is that we're starting to get some comments on there. Like I saw somebody was really frustrated with some of the offensive struggles. So I'm sorry I didn't look at the name. That was my
I
fault as a
saw that.
producer. I failed you there, but in terms of that, it's been pretty cool to get some feedback from Ram fans. They're starting to find us, which is awesome. We have quality content here for you guys, and it's been good to see that, slowly but surely, as we talk about with all the different shows that we have on here, on the COMPAS, on the Beat Network. We're getting there, and it's good to see Ram fans starting to get out there and supporting us. So, and a lot of it has to do, with you, Gilbert. Getting that post game interviews. It's been that's what we usually get the most out of. So I'll keep it real there. It's good job on you for getting us that content. That post game interviews are awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. And yeah, I've been seeing the comments. That kind of makes a giveaway tricky because I'm saying, hey, just comment on a video and subscribe and you're entering. So we got to figure that part. That's why I said do a hashtag House of Horns. But I've seen the frustration from people and some people who like the positivity from last week. They saw the team score a fourth quarter touchdown, Victor. I think people were happy about Allen Robinson being productive. But yeah, there's some frustrated people. But I want this to be a community engagement for people. House of Horns, be frustrated, be positive, just be polite and kind, and we're all good. But we don't want to be one way or the other. Want to keep it down the middle, fair. If you're frustrated, be frustrated. If you're really happy about the team, be happy. But just keep it fair and positive, and we're all good. But Victor, I am ready to start going with news and notes. Are you?
All right, let's get it. Let's go ahead and get it started. I saw, give us an update on what's going on with. I know that Noteboom is now on IR. He's out for the season with an Achilles injury, and you have a couple of other things that you want to share with us. So go ahead and let us know what's the latest on the Rams.
Yeah, so I'll start out with Joe Noteboom. He's officially on IR. It's an unfortunate injury for him. He tore his Achilles tendon, so he's going to be out for the season. He was carted off in the second quarter of the Panthers game, and when Sean McVay said the fear was it's an Achilles injury, we pretty much already were assuming it's going to be bad, and that's what happened. So another blow for this Rams offensive line, and I did a kind of a story of a timeline of what's going on. So to kind of just summarize it, of how bad it's been for the offensive lines, injury wise, Victor, 6 different offensive line combinations started. That's every game this season. 10 different offensive linemen have played snaps in games for the Rams, and I want to say 6 players have missed a game for injury on the offensive line, and the other one was, oh yeah, when Nopal went down in the second quarter, there was 4 backups protecting Matthew Stafford, with Rob Havenstein being the lone week 1 starter on the offensive line. So it's pretty bad, Victor. And they did add somebody else to the mix for some depth, but I want you to give me your takeaways about the Noteboom thing real quick, Vic, because I got to figure out the name of this new guy here.
Yeah, no, and I have to give Sean McVay a lot of credit here in terms of being able to put some of these backups, because everybody's complaining about their offensive line play around the league. Like no fan base is happy with their offensive line play unless you're someone like the Eagles, who have offensive linemen galore, like unless, or the Ravens or someone like that who likes to run the ball. But outside of that, I mean, you look at the Rams and what they've been able to do with backups. It's been great to see. Like, I know we complain about that. They've gone up against good competition too, and yeah, they've given up 7 sacks against the Bills, 7 sacks against the 49ers, and 5 against the Dallas Cowboys. But they held up pretty well, even losing no boom against the Panthers. They held up pretty good, and then they have help coming on the way, as you're going to tell. Who are some of the guys that are coming to help out with that offensive line now that No Boom is out for the year?
Yeah, so the guy they added, off the Colts practice squad, actually. I don't want to butcher the last name. I'm gonna give it a try. Ty Neski is Nsekhe. If you're not familiar with Ty, I'm just gonna call him Ty. Yes, he was on the practice squad for the Colts. He has 17 career starts. He's a tackle. Has appeared in 93 games, but I'm assuming a lot of his special teams work for him. He's 36 years old, so you're pretty much adding a guy for depth. He won't be your answer as a starter. So we'll see what they do there. But there were some positives, like you mentioned, Victor, with Alaric Jackson. Hopefully, got his name right. Going to
Yes.
right guard, left tackle. You got Odi Abushi at right guard. So we'll see what the combinations they do. It's going to be interesting. I don't think, maybe they could go off of that lineup that they have success with. But when you come out of the gates with 49ers and the Buccaneers, maybe that won't be the same result. So we'll see how they tinker with it, but they added some depth there. And then Victor, you mentioned they're going to get some reinforcements back. It won't be just on the offensive line. But some bad news, real quick. Grant Haley, the DB that you liked, Victor, the
Yeah.
cornerback there, who stepped up during the injuries. He was big time. He got an injury himself. I think he has a sprained knee and will be out a couple weeks. And he went to IR. And then they waived Tack McKinley. He did not last long with the Rams, the former UCLA product, but that creates 2 roster spots right there for Van Jefferson, the wide receiver, and the cornerback Troy Hill. And then a couple more. Victor, Sean McVay mentioned that Brian Allen, the center, will be ready. Kobe Durant, the rookie cornerback, will be ready. And Bobby Brown, the defensive lineman, should be back from suspension. He had an ankle injury too, but it sounds like he's healthy. So that's 5 names right there of reinforcements for this Rams really banged up roster.
No, and that's good to hear because, coming up, as you just talked about, who they have coming up. And I know we continue to say this, but it's the 49ers and the Buccaneers. So you're going to need some of those reinforcements back, especially along for the struggling offense, as we've talked about. But I wanted to talk about Alaric Jackson. And I know I saw some fans talking about how he did way better at left tackle than Joe Noteboom, which was kind of eye opening. That tells you that they might have found a gem there, as we've seen with other teams. Sometimes an injury causes some some players to take advantage, and who knows, maybe he takes off here. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then you get Van Jefferson's back, as you talked about. The defense gets some reinforcements, so that'll be good, especially going into those two back to back tough games that they have coming up.
Yeah, and going off of what you mentioned with Jackson Victor, like it's gonna be tough because like, do you assess him against a Panthers team that like pretty much had doesn't have much to play for? I know he was going up against Brian Burns, and that's always good, something good to be, to hang your hat on. But is it a real kind of performance? But one thing with Jackson though, I've heard good things from the people who've been around the team the previous season. This is my first year covering the Rams, and they said he's had some kind of spot starts and he's done well at tackle. He was pretty much entered the NFL as a left tackle. He was in the Canadian Football League, so that's his original spot, and it looked like he didn't miss a beat. They were trying to shovel him to find him a spot at guard because when you start the year and you're healthy, okay, maybe there's no room for Jackson here, but he'll be the swing tackle. Let's try him out at guard. And to his credit, he did well. He at right guard, like he had some bumps and bruises there, but it worked out. And then to go to the left tackle, but the only issue, Victor, is like, say you keep going with Jackson again, even though you kind of still need him in the interior, but you have Ode Bushi to help you out there. Brian Allen will come back. We don't know about David Edwards, but they're getting some healthy bodies. But say you keep Jackson at left tackle, what if an injury happens to him? Then you don't really have anything else. Do you bring in this new guy Ty, who just came from the Colts practice squad, to be your starter immediately? So that's gonna be a tough part, Victor. They're very thin, so we'll see what they do. The thing they keep doing, because it's not easy. You've mentioned this before, Victor. It's not easy to go trade for a tackle, especially with so many teams still in the mix for a playoff spot. They're not gonna give up on the roster. Like, hey, go take my left tackle. Go take my star right tackle. Like, they're not gonna do that. So, what you could do right now is go, search a practice squad and find a gem, like you mentioned. But maybe they do already have it in Jackson. The only issue is the depth behind them, because what if an injury happens and you're out looking again? But I am done with news and notes, Victor. I think I'm ready for some juicy segments because it's trade rumors, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Especially coming off of what happened. I mean, I was shocked when and it kind of killed. And on a personal note, it kind of killed my whole keys to the game last week against the Panthers, because I was expecting Cam Akers to play. All of a sudden, we get to Thursday, and then news starts to trickle out about Cam Akers, as you posted, and then some people started taking your story and kind of aggregating off of it. But yeah, Cam Akers, are we going to see him? What's going to happen? As of right now, what's the latest with Cam Akers?
Yeah, Sean McVay did not hide it on Monday on Zoom that they're shopping Cam Akers. They're trying to trade him. He was saying like, "Hey, we want to help out Cam Akers here and help him find a fresh start." So I guess when they're trying to talk with the agent and Cam and say, "Hey, what can we work out for you to get out of here?" Like, it shows like it's not that bad. Like, they're trying to make it accommodate to him. But if they're not getting a deal done, and he's kind of being picky, they're like, you know what, forget it, Cam. We're gonna just trade you because we got to get rid of you. But he didn't rule out the possibility of Cam Akers coming back. But it just sounds like the first and the only option they want is for him to leave, trade him. And before we start getting into trade scenarios, Victor, you know, I should probably start this way. It's kind of a bummer for the Rams to for them to get to this point, because he was a second round pick out of Florida State. He was a really good running back of Florida State, very promising rookie season. And then that second season when he came in, he was all over the fantasy football drafts. Guru saying, "Hey, you got to take this guy early," and then he tore his Achilles in training camp. And ever since that happened, Victor, it's kind of been on the downhill. He came back, but maybe he came back too soon for that Super Bowl playoff run. He wasn't explosive. He couldn't make the cuts. And then he came back on training camp and he was showing a little more burst. He like I kept saying every day, like, oh, like he has that pop that Darrell Henderson doesn't have, but Henderson is consistent. And like Cam Akers had a lot of good days and bad days, and then it became too many bad days, and he got frustrated. And then maybe Sean McVay was like, you know what, I'm tired of being frustrated. You got to keep it here, and it just didn't work out. So I don't want to speculate on what happened there, but that brings me to the point now. If you're trying to trade Cam Akers, and everybody knows you're trying to trade the guy, like, you have no leverage. Like, you want to get rid of the guy. Also, running backs are not that valuable anymore, Victor, as you know. And then three, he's not having a good season. He's not showing the same burst or same pop, at least consistently. Like the Arizona game, Victor, he showed flashes. So maybe there could be something there on film, on tape, like, hey, we could work with that there. But to be averaging 3 yards per carry and then not showing too much pop, not breaking tackles, and kind of being a smaller running back too, and then coming off the Achilles injury. Like, how much trade value do you have? Is it a fifth round pick? Maybe you're being generous there, or is it like, hey, give me a six rounder, give me a seventh rounder, move on, call it a day. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Victor. Let me know, and then after that, I will give you a couple of teams that maybe could show interest.
No, and I was going to talk about the fact that I think part of the reason people were high on Cam Akers was not only that he was drafted in the second round, but you're also coming off of what you had before with and like my I'm losing the name, it escapes me, the running back they used to have that Todd Gurley.
There
Sorry,
you go.
Todd Gurley. I was talking, and how well he did under this offense. And I think everybody was expecting, like, hey, you can just plug him in and kind of run him like you did with Todd Gurley. And it never materialized. Like you said, after that rookie season, he got hurt. And then you're expecting him, okay, like now you have two guys in Daryl Henderson and Cam Akers. Maybe you can run both of them. One of them will take over. And it hasn't happened, whether it's been because of McVay's offense or it's been because of something else. Like you talked about, maybe he hasn't had the same burst as we saw when he first came in, or because of the injury. But there's been something just there. It felt really just awkward the whole time, especially early on when you reported what was going on. Why, especially in that first game, he just didn't want to block. There was a couple of times where he just missed some
Yeah.
blocks there in that first game against the Bills on blitzes, and maybe that's what it was. They were like, "Look, if you're not gonna block, then we're not gonna give you the ball." And maybe that's what it was with Mivay. He wants somebody that can actually take blocks, and that's why you saw Malcolm Brown in there, and they brought him back off the they signed him back because of that. And they also have that rookie that we still haven't seen. He's supposed to be back
Kyron
off of
Williams.
IR. Yeah, he's gonna come off of IR soon, so I'm sure he talked about him too. So they need to figure that out. I don't think they're going to get much trade value as you talked about, because running backs aren't price possessions anymore. You can find one anywhere at this point, and I think they rather just. I think eventually he's just going to get released, and I don't, because you need those spots. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, that could be something that could happen. Like, but I know that they're really trying to pursue a trade, and maybe somebody watches that film of the Arizona game and they say, "Hey, this is a guy that we could work with." So let me give you a couple scenarios. Again, I don't know what the trade conversation could be, but this first one, maybe because they know each other. Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers, and Sean McVay, they worked together that 1 year with the Rams, where Staley was a defensive coordinator. I just saw reports that Joshua Kelly got hurt and he's going to be out a couple of weeks there. So maybe they send Cam Akers to the Chargers for a sixth-round pick, whatever, fifth rounder if they're lucky, and say, hey, you want Cam Akers to help you out with Austin Eckler? You're in a different conference. Go ahead and take him. Another one that I saw from Michael Fabiano, remember I think he's from NFL.com or a fantasy expert. I think he's with SI. He threw it out there. I just saw a tweet. He said Melvin Gordon was benched yesterday on Monday Night Football. Why not just trade Melvin Gordon and Cam Akers? Hey, not a bad idea there. There are different conferences. Both players are disgruntled. Uh, maybe Melvin Gordon, like he has some flashes this year. Like maybe it could work out for the Rams, because I feel like they still need a running back regardless. So a trade right there. And then I saw, surprisingly, the Miami Dolphins are like one of the worst teams rushing wise, which is kind of hard to believe with Mike McDaniel. I know they got Mostert there and Edmonds, but
Chase
maybe
Edmonds.
Cam Akers, a Florida boy, wants to go there, and they're not like a team that's out of it. They're like still competing. I know the Tua thing is an issue there. And then the last one, maybe the Buffalo Bills. I know the Rams was probably thinking like, "Well, what if we face the Bills in the Super Bowl?" Like, you're not a Super Bowl team right now. You got to fix this roster. And I know the Bills are really in on this other guy we're going to talk about soon. They want to fix a running game. Maybe Cam Akers, like they strike out there. Hey, take Cam Akers. But those are the teams that come to mind. I think if you're the Rams, you're trying to get rid of him in the AFC. You don't want him to be in the NFC. So those are kind of just four teams, just quickly scattering, who are struggling with the rushing game or injury wise. They could take them.
Two teams that and one of them isn't going to work out just because of it's Seattle, and I know Kenneth Walker just took over for them. I know he's on your fantasy team,
Yeah.
so um he's someone with penny going down. But I just don't see. I think part of the
Division.
reason you want to make sure you trade him is because you don't want him to end up with Seattle. So after thinking about that, I was
Good
like,
point.
okay, I think another place is New Orleans. New Orleans is always looking for running backs. They Latavius Murray was taken off their practice squad and ended up with Denver. So that's another guy who, if Melvin Gordon or Cam Akers don't end up with the Saints, I'll be shocked because they're always looking for running backs there, especially with the whole situation. We don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara if he gets suspended for what happened with the incident in Las Vegas. So those are my two options, but I don't see the one with Seattle. I think if Cam Akers gets cut, I think you might see him with Seattle, and I think that's the reason why the Rams want to make sure they trade him. And I guess they'll take anything at this point. But yeah, I like the Buffalo one, but I think we know where
Yeah.
someone else might be end up. So let's get to that. If and we'll unless you have something else for us in terms of
No.
trades. No,
Well,
no.
actually, yeah, let's start. Let's go with Christian McCaffrey, and then I will tell you about Brian Burns. We got that Brian Burns that has something funny today, and he's a potential option. But we'll end the show with Brian Burns. But let's start with Christian McCaffrey. But just to throw it out there, Victor, what if they say, hey Panthers, you want Cam Akers, and an extra draft pick or whatever 2025, some future draft pick for Christian McCaffrey? You take it or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, you're not gonna. I mean, he's
Boy,
been good
are you,
this.
if you're the Rams or the Panthers, is what I'm saying. I think the Panthers were probably like, give me a little more, you know?
Right. No, I mean, if you're the Panthers, you try to get as much as you can. I've heard that they want a first round pick. You're not going to get a first round pick for a running back at this point. I'm sorry, you're not. You're either going to get something in the later round, second, third, fourth round pick. You take what you can for a running back, especially at that price. Now, my question to you would be, can the Rams afford that price that you would pay someone like McCaffrey, because he's under contract and he's got a big cap number? So that's the other problem. But I'm sure in today's NFL, it seems like you can fit any player under the cap as long as you're able to wiggle some numbers around. So and we've seen that the Bills are in on him as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're the Rams, you try to your best. I mean, anything that can help this offense would be great. And so, and he's been really good this year. What was it? He was 75% of their offense against the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, like you immediately saw that this guy's still very good. When he had 58 of the 61 yards on the opening drive for the Panthers, when they got the field goal, and I want to say like from the game, like you're right, it was like something like 158 total yards out of 203 for the
Three.
Panthers.
Yep.
So, there he was a big part of the offense. Like he's a really explosive running back, but he's also a very versatile receiver. And something I go back to was Raheem Morris, a defensive coordinator for the Rams, called Christian McCaffrey the Cooper Cups of running backs. And I guess they're the same color, they're white, so it's an easy comparison. When you watch the whole do it all kind of versatile, because Cup does so much at the line of scrimmage, like kind of the jet sweeps and the quick throws and the yak. Like McCaffrey does that in a way, right? Because he's such a good two-way player out of the backfield. So I think scheme wise, Christian McCaffrey is a good fit for the Rams. I know he has some ties to LA. I'm sure he will like to come to LA, but like you talk about the compensation and all the suitors, like if the Bills are really aggressive and they want to make sure they win the Super Bowl, and they get McCaffrey, man, watch out because they're already very good. But when you have so many suitors and some teams like, you know what, we've seen what the Rams have done. They gave up a second round pick for Von Miller. Why shouldn't we do that for Christian McCaffrey? So, if you're the Rams, are you willing to give up a second round pick? Because I feel like somebody might. Like maybe it's a high compensation for a running back, or maybe I'm thinking more like it's a third round pick. But if somebody's out there and say, hey, here's a second round pick, we're all in. If you're the Rams, you probably can't do that when you have so many injuries on your offensive line. You need a pass rusher, and then eventually you got to start getting some depth and some young guys to play, and you need that second round pick. So it depends too. Like also like how aggressive are they, Victor? Like they just won the Super Bowl. Are they still going to give away a second round pick for Christian McCaffrey? And then the salary cap part. Like I know Les Snead is a genius when it comes to the salary cap, and the people he has in the front office are very savvy to make it work. But The other thing I noticed from his contract, yeah, you don't have to pay McCaffrey this year, but after that, he has no guaranteed money. And when a superstar player is about to get moved, they're going to leverage that and say, hey, you want me to go to your team? How about you change the contract and give me some guaranteed money right now? Can you guarantee my salary for next year and the year after that? Uh, and then also, if you want to make him a rental, and you still have that contract. That's a lot of dead money on your salary cap. The Rams can't do that. So obviously, you could get very savvy and you can restructure deals. That's not a big issue. But I think the bigger problem is the compensation and trying to compete with teams to get McCaffrey. So I don't know if it could happen for them. It's doable though, Victor. I'll end it on that. And I'll hear your thoughts. But the salary cap, the trade capital for drafting, I just don't see it right now.
One of the things that I always go back to, and it came to my mind as I was listening to you, is you're playing in Los Angeles. You're not competing against the rest of the NFL. You're competing against the Lakers. You're competing against the Dodgers. You're competing against USC, and you know, we saw some empty seats last night at the game for the Chargers and Broncos, and we know how much they're trying to fight. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl. The Rams just did, but guess what? You're still not one of the most popular teams in LA. That's the Lakers and the Dodgers. So if you can get someone like McCaffrey, that's a lot of shine. I don't think they care about picks as they've talked about with the Rams. I think they care about flash and they want to be involved in the conversation when it comes to Los Angeles. One of the things that I just went and got my hair cut, and my barber had asked me, he started asking me about OBJ, and I'm like, why are you asking me about OBJ when he's might not even be here in about a month? That's because he's a named player. People
Mm.
want to have those kind of players on your team. If you have someone like OBJ, it changes the narrative when it comes to the Rams, you know. And I think right now what they want is they want to make sure that people are still talking about them, because as of we're recording today, the Lakers start their season. You don't want to be, you know, left behind where people are talking about other teams here in LA, like the Kings, the Los Angeles Kings, you know, the LAFC. You want to make sure that you stay relevant till the end of the season. So for me, I think you're going to see the Rams make some kind of big headlining move, because they need to. Because if they don't, if they're not in it, you know, I think people are going to change the conversation, and that's not what you want if you're the Rams.
And the other thing that that's a good point too. Like I know it's a different point, and maybe it's not on the highest priority list, but it is something they care about, right? And right now for the Rams, they're boring to watch on offense. It's just give it to Cooper Cup, and if you're like it's like week 17 or 16, like do you want to keep watching this? And they're like a team like on the fringe of the wild cards, like it's kind of boring here, you know. That's something I don't know what's the highest thing, but I think they do care about that. But here's something else I just thought about too, Victor. I feel like when you're talking and I'm talking, we're kind of getting more ideas bouncing off each other. Like the 49ers, they have a whole bunch of injuries and they're a great rushing team. Like we know the Shanahan system, that the zone scheme is amazing from the dad, Mike Shanahan. By the way, you know his dad, right? Christian McCaffrey's dad.
Yes. Yeah, he and McCaffrey
There
from
you
the
go.
Broncos. Yes.
So there was ties there with the Shanahans, and then also who was a big part of those Broncos Super Bowls back in the day? Anthony Lynn, the running backs coach for the 49ers. So there's a lot of ties there from McCaffrey with the 49ers, and they could use them because they look pretty sloppy against the Falcons. I know they have injuries there, but say it's a battle between the 49ers and the Rams to get the services of Christian McCaffrey. If you're the Rams, you're thinking, all right, second round pick. It's like you're taking out the wallet and you're down to your last $100 bill. All right, take it. We don't want the 49ers to get them. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if it'll play out quickly. I think the deadline is November 1st, or there's some time. But if it's down to those two teams, I think if you're the Rams, you might get aggressive, maybe a little desperate. I don't know. But also the Bills are another team to watch. And Victor, let's end this trade rumor segment here with Brian Burns. Like, what if people are focusing on Christian McCaffrey, and maybe the Rams are saying, you know what, you guys go look that way. That Brian Burns guy, he's young. He's a pass rusher. This is a position that we value, and and we saw with the Jalen Ramsey trade, like they got him for the long haul, for the future, not for a rental. Brian Burns will be that guy. You pair him with Aaron Donald. We don't know how long Aaron Donald will play, but Aaron Donald's saying like, "Hey, win your one-on-one matchups." I love the Von Miller days, and he's gone. You bring in Brian Burns. Now the question is like, he's a pass rusher. There's way more value there. I don't know if it'll be a first round pick. He's certainly worthy of a first round pick, but you got to keep in mind, Brian Burns is due for a massive contract. So maybe that's a second round pick and a massive contract. We don't know. We will see. But Victor, the funny thing today that he had on his Instagram story, he
Yeah, I
posted
see.
a video of a ram, like a big, like an animal. Like not talking about the football team, like a real animal. It was actually a very beautiful ram. It was this beast of a ram out there, and he posted a thing last night, and people were like, "Hey, he's gonna go to the Rams. He's going to the Rams." So he started kind of the trade rumors on Twitter, and then he posted like a video on a story of a whale, two more pictures of Panthers to throw people off, and the last video was like, "I like animals, stupid." So I think it was from like Jay and Silent Bob from the movie, like a clip. So I think he was trolling people, but I think he really liked the video of that ram. It's a good video. I posted the video on my Twitter, so I thought that was funny. But Victor, if Brian Burns was out there, you would think the Rams would go for it, right?
Yeah, and it makes total sense because you don't know how long Aaron Donald is going to be around. I mean, look, yeah, he re-signed, and he can decide to retire, and you're going to need another cornerstone eventually. So it makes sense if you're going to go that way. You can trade for him, and then you can have him here for a while, just kind of like what they did with Ramsey, as you talked about. So that one makes a lot of sense. But I wanted to ask you about this because someone brought it up from the Panthers beat, and um, what do you think about DJ Moore as a trade option? And the reason I bring it up is because the person who tweeted said he is a perfect Rams wide receiver, and it made me think of Robert Woods and how he
Mm.
blocks in the same kind of. He kind of looks like Robert Woods. So I just a quick. I know we have to go, but what do you think about that? Maybe that as an option as well,
Yeah,
especially if you know you're not going to have a chance at OBJ.
yeah. If Odell Beckham's going to the Bills or the Chiefs or whatever in a different team, uh, like, do you think you get Van Jefferson back? Do you think Van Jefferson, Allen Robinson, and Cooper Cup is enough for you? The way we've seen this offense, maybe they figured out something there. We will see. But I think if you have an opportunity to get a DJ Moore, a young wide receiver, I want to say he got paid though, Victor. So I don't know how that works on the salary cap. Maybe I'm off because I know he was one of those people that needed to get paid. I don't know they took care of him. That's my bad here. But he's a young wide receiver, a really talented wide receiver, a do-it-all wide receiver, and I think that's a good assessment. That he's a kind of a that ram type that blocks, gets you the yak, explosive, just a little bit of everything. So when you want to play in that 11 personnel heavy, you got to do everything. You got to do what tight ends do. You got to do what running backs do. Even some linemen work. So that's definitely a good option. And then when I was looking at the standings here, Victor, for who's going to be on the sale market, like it's not a lot of teams because a lot of teams are still in it because they're only one game behind. The ones that are pretty much dead in the water are the Panthers, so they have so many people out available. We already saw Robbie Adams are going to the Cardinals, but I don't think anybody's losing any sleep over that. But it's going to be an interesting bye week, Victor. I can't really take too many days off because there's a lot of trade rumors out there, and that's why we're doing this House of Horns on a bye week. But I don't care. I'm glad that we're working because we got to 200 subscribers on the channel, only going up there. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and we have a lot for you here. Still, we have a lot of content coming for you guys, as we talked about. Even on the bye week, Gilbert is out there grinding. He's got stories for you, so make sure you stay locked. What do you have coming out, and where can they find your work, Gilbert?
Yeah, Victor, I think ahead. So I think I'm gonna combo this video with a story. I'm gonna do kind of options for the Rams to look or assess during the bye week. What offensive linemen can they get? What's the latest on OBJ? Cam Akers, Christian McCaffrey. So a lot what we talked about today in writing form. So you could, full package there. You could read the story. You could click on the video on YouTube or click on the video on the Orange County Register LA Daily News. And if you really like the work and you want to keep talking about it, comment under this video or send me an email, gmanzano at scng.com. There you go. I forget my email, but a lot of content on the Orange County Register. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at gmanzano24 as well. And make sure you check out all the content on the COMPAS on the Beat Network. We have week 6 takeaways on COMPAS on the Beat this week. We have What's Up Boats. Fernando Ramirez, Dan and Diego covered the game between the Chargers and the Broncos. That Warrior, Dustin Hopkins, they have that covered. Combat Compas. We had a great interview with Deontay Wilder, former heavyweight champion of the world. So we do it all here on the network.
Look at that. Gilbert over here just plugging away, man. I don't even have to produce this show. He just gets it done.
I was
So
losing
with
my breath,
that,
by the way. I was like,
y-
a little more promoting here.
there you go, man. So on that note, man, get us out of here.
All right, we're ready. Let's enjoy the bye week. Victor, don't hate me. It wasn't that painful, right? So let's get out of here. Ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.